Okay, hello Chicago. We're going to try it again. Hopefully we won't be cut off yet again. I've had a great deal of difficulty this morning when I say the word Moustafa. Everything seems to Moustafa. Moustafa is the Syrian Emergency Task Force. Before that, he was on the Libyan Emergency Task Force. Before that, he was on the Egyptian Emergency Task Force. Hello, everyone. Before that, I will bet you anything he was at Otpor. Remember Mr. Popovic? You have to go all the way back to almost, day 50. When I talk about Otpor and Popovic teaching the Kosovos to basically ratline. They teach ratlines. They teach color revolutions. Now this Moustafa guy ends up going to, it looks like he goes to Serbia. It looks like he's learning Russian. He knows Arabic as well. The reason why he's so important is it's the connection to the Senate. It's the spy ring in the Senate and also the spy ring in the House. Now, he also, the reason why it's so important is Q put out a picture of him yesterday with Paul Ryan. And it was kind of like the nom de clay of a novel. It was kind of like, well, y'all didn't figure out who the murderer was on the Agatha Christie, so boom, here it is. It's the butler. You know, it was kind of like this kind of thunk where it's all over. It's Moustafa. And Moustafa really is the key to the whole thing. Really, basically everything we've said so far, which is take Mina Airport and move it to Washington, D.C., and you have Iran-Contra. You take Iran-Contra from a small state-level scale to Washington, D.C., and make it a national-level scale. You use, instead of using the Arkansas State Police and prisoners from the Arkansas State Police system as your gangs for security and your JTTF, you actually use the FBI and the CIA and the DIA and the diplomatic security services and the secret services and every other agency you can co-opt as your JTTF, and you use the federal prison system as well as federal agencies, and you put people from that may be on probation into positions in the federal government to run drugs for you and run weapons for you. And hey, if you don't want to cooperate at any time, you can always go back to the slammer and, you know, be in the slammer with Bubba. So really, it's Arkansas writ large, as we've said all along, but we didn't have that key person. We didn't have the key, and I really didn't think Q would, you know, kind of take everybody's fun away so quickly just by saying, oh, you know, here's the key. But if you want my interpretation of how he's so key, I will go through it. Moustafa's a pilot. Is he one of the Egyptian pilots where they trained these Egyptian pilots to run drugs in the U.S.? He probably is. He's been caught in the United States twice with over 600 kilograms of cannabis. Now, I don't know if he was flying to or from Arkansas at the time, but 600 kilograms, that's a lot. I think it was 2008, 2009, when he's working for I believe he's working for an Arkansas senator, even though Moustafa comes to, well, here's a whole Moustafa story. He's about, I don't know, about 34 years old right now. Goes to Arkansas after being born in Damascus, works there a little while. I don't know what he did in Arkansas exactly. Kind of got his training wheels as far as rat lines go. Then he moved on to Washington. He comes to Washington, I think, around 2005, 2006. First with a congressional office. I think it's Vic Snyder's office. Then with a senator's office, which I believe is not, I think her name's Lincoln from Arkansas as well. But in all intents and purposes, he's really working for Hillary Clinton, and he's flying this. 600 kilograms of cannabis is a lot of cannabis. Now, I think this unlocks the Chelsea bombing. I think this unlocks the Egyptian pilots. I think these Egyptian pilots, let's just call them, since we've already named them in our series, these Egyptian pilots are just going to be this recurring theme of bringing things in and out of the country, No passports needed. And once you start doing the cannabis, you're going to then move up to the illegal drugs or legal illegal drugs, quarter weight. And again, as a pilot, you don't know that you're shipping quarter weight fentanyl, quarter weight oxycodone, quarter weight whatever. You know, name your Purdue pharmaceutical drug of choice that you want to slip into the VA system to take the good ones out. And again, instead of Arkansas state prisoners that you compromise putting in state level positions, like we've said, you just take federal prisoners and put them into federal positions, a lot of them being SES. So this is going to be the reason why people are going to be so violent when you start taking their SES positions. You take somebody from out of the federal prison system, out of the probation system, and you then say, oh, by the way, you're not going to make $250,000 a year anymore, or $210,000. You're going to go back to prison. Well, actually, you'll probably do whatever they say. And this is the thing. I'm not saying that people in the Department of Interior that Zinke had kind of called out, but they weren't anywhere near the office. They weren't anywhere near the office. They were off going, you know, somewhere. These 25 SES, they had no tracking, no time and attendance system, nothing. And this is going to be the key to the whole build out of the, and I don't know what I'm going to call it. I'm not going to call it SES. It's Hillary's drug service, I guess, would be the West. I mean, CVS, I guess, call it CVS SES. This is the pattern, and we're going to have Task Force join us here. It's going to be great. Actually, we have some bandwidth. We've got surprises for you later on in the day. Task Force has done an incredible amount of research on Moustafa, and then you're also going to find that it's going to be the Al-Hijraj mosque, which is the key to this whole thing. Now, the first day I go to Washington, D.C. last year, I meet Lee Stranahan. We're sitting up at the Ruth Chris Steakhouse. I remember buying him a nice steak. He told me the 5-kid thing, and I think I gave him a couple of scholarships that night for his journalism school. And he says, you know, we're talking, you know, comparing notes on the case, and he goes, well, you know, AAA was at Al-Hijraj Mosque. And I go, AAA, is that Anwar al-Awlaki, something like that? I didn't know who AAA was. He goes, yeah. That was the guy who first came to Washington or Virginia and had the 9/11 hijackers stay there at the mosque. He just happened to have somebody he met in a bar that said, hey, why don't you stay with me here in Falls Church near the CIA car dealership? No, it was before the CIA car dealership. But Lee Stranahan was the one who told me it was Al-Hijraj Mosque. And I did a film there because Lee Stranahan told me. But what I feel happened from that time, he was hot on the trail. They had gotten to him with the Guccifer stuff. Maybe he had talked to Guccifer already, but they were trying to get him off the mosque. He had it actually a year ago. They were trying to say, get away from the mosque, because the mosque is where they recruited this Libya emergency task force, the Syria emergency task force, the Egyptian emergency task force, all these color of revolution task forces. We've got a good task force. These are the bad task forces. These are the ISIS gun running to Congress by McCain and Hillary task forces. So he had it nailed. It was all out of that Hijraj Mosque. Of course, just around the corner was that CIA car dealership. As somebody said, he's worked as a correspondence manager for the U.S. Senate. That's good. Yeah. He's got it all. Yeah, he's gonna get all the correspondence. I guess that means all the PDFs. He just gets all the PDFs. He's gonna be the spiring in the Senate. He's the spiring in the Senate. He's not the spiring. And we were looking for who were the bears, what was the bear team, or which bad news bears were the team in the Senate. This is McCain's Senate spy ring. Took longer to find it because McCain hit his tracks a little bit better. Hillary is a little bit better at showing her tracks. But yeah, a correspondence manager, born in Damascus, ahead of all these three. Go ahead.
Well, his father is Palestinian, his mother is Syrian. They moved from Damascus. His dad is an airplane tech mechanics.
Yeah, Diet Corps.
They moved straight from Damascus to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
There you go. And of course, you need a good mechanic for all these people that you're going to be flying in and out of Mina Airport. When did they move?
Looks like, I mean, I think 1997 is when they first possibly moved in.
Okay, and this is what I say about Hillary's. The first 4 years was kind of getting rid of all the crimes from Arkansas. But then you kind of, and then of course you have Vince Foster and everything, and then the whole Podesta kind of coming in being the enforcer. But then you say, hey, at Madeleine Albright, they had to get rid of Christopher Stevens, who was not Christopher Stevens. He was the first Secretary of State when Hillary was in the West Wing with Clinton, 93 to 97. Was it Christopher Stevens?
No, I don't know.
I think it was Christopher Stevens. Anyway, somebody looked that one up. But Madeleine Albright becomes Secretary of State. They somehow got rid of Christopher Stevens, and Madeleine Albright becomes Secretary of State. That's when the whole Kosovo thing really took off. They had done Bosnia together before that, but they really hadn't worked with these Mujahideen much past Bosnia. And when Christopher Stevens gets pushed out, Warren Christopher, thank you. When Warren Christopher got pushed out, that's when Hillary went full throttle on bringing the Egyptian pilots. Everything we said about the Chelsea bombing is going to be completely correct. It is going to be the icon we needed for Moustafa as the Egyptian pilots. Okay, let's get some more good data here from JK. We got the good data from Task Force. Go ahead.
I'll just give a quick rundown of Moustafa. I mean, I've given out to the researchers his Instagram and all that kind of stuff, but looks like he's brought in also in 2003. He's in Arkansas as well. He goes on, he's back and forth between Little Rock.
He got a microbiology degree.
Right, he has a microbiology degree. He has a degree in Russian and Balkan language.
That's when he goes and studies with Otpor.
Right.
He does his color revolution studies in Serbia. Go ahead.
He first worked for Congressman Vic Snyder.
Vic Snyder was Arkansas 2, Little Rock. Go ahead.
And then he worked for the Democratic National Committee in the field as a field coordinator during the Hillary Clinton-Barack Obama race for the DNC.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
2008?
Yes.
He was
pulled off. He was already in the Congress. He was pulled off to specifically work for the DNC.
Oh, wow.
Then he becomes a member of the United States Senate right after that election.
That must be he's going to work for, not Kennedy, but
for Lincoln.
Lincoln, yeah.
He has a Lincoln, yes. He goes to work for Lincoln. So he has a Bachelor of Arts also from the University of Central Arkansas. He worked for Al Jazeera.
As a journalist, yeah, supposedly.
Pretty much, he's a man of all trades here. Then the Libyan Council of Northern America, Syrian Emergency Task Force, Libyan Emergency.
Yeah, LEFT, left, right. Not right, and then SEFT, and then before that, he was involved in the Egyptian overthrow.
Right. And then he worked for something called United for a Free Syria.
Yeah, these are all cover organizations.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's I know his father's name. I don't know if you want that out there right now. But,
no.
Okay.
But how about the other? So let's say we added a Q. Let's say we add RQ. Let's add RQ. Let's add ADDOURQ. Let's add RQ at the beginning instead of the end. We would come up with Q add hour. Q add hour. Q add hour. Who was Q add hour? Who was Q add hour?
I'm getting to Q add hour.
Q add hour is going to be at the Al Hizraj Mosque. Q add hour is going to be about what? How old?
Q add hour. His first name. Well, he goes by Jihad.
Jihad. Hey, Q add hour. Shout out to Jihad.
Yeah.
Q add hour.
Jomana Jihad. Q at hour.
Q at
by Jihad apparently. Born in '83.
Pilot.
Yes, he is a pilot.
Pilot. If those turn out to be our Egyptian pilots, I don't think they're the Egyptian pilots, but I think they know the other Egyptian pilots. Okay, here we go.
Anyway, he comes through Overland Park, Kansas at some point.
Cleaver alert, trigger warning. If your representative's name is Cleaver, You may want to turn off this video. Go ahead.
He buys some property in Florida, a small parcel. Not sure why he did that.
Landing area. Banana farm, like we had down in Haiti by the president. Banana farm.
And then he moves to. He's back and forth between Florida and Kansas, and then spends most of his time in Arlington, Virginia, by the with the
hiding behind Marines' graves. Hide behind Marines' graves.
And Fairfax, Virginia. For quite some time. So Arlington to Fairfax, back and forth. Then he goes to 1500 Massachusetts Avenue.
Now that is, I know 1500 Mass Ave. 1500 Mass Ave is Embassy of Tunisia. I think this is home, my stars and garters, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to get you a little piece of Chicago right here. We have, I believe, Rahm Emanuel is mounted on one of Chicago's finest horses. We are going to get you a live shot of that. I believe this is Rahm Emanuel on this horse. Do you do live interviews? No?
Pictures.
How long have you been on the force?
16 years.
16 years. What's your horse's name?
His name is Kelly.
Kelly. He seems very well behaved.
Yeah,
now he looks like an Arabian to me.
No, he's a quarter horse.
A quarter horse. Look at those big pecs. Yeah, I guess so. A quarter horse. I had bull, so I'm confused easily.
All of our horses are named after fallen police officers.
All the horses are named. She's a police officer.
Oh, how you doing? Yeah, so he's named after Officer Thomas Kelly.
Oh, wow.
Who died March 3rd, 1970. He was killed.
Did you know the officer off duty that was helping out in the suburbs that just recently got killed in the mall? Commander Bauer.
Oh, Commander Bauer? Yeah, I was very good friends with him.
Oh, really? Yeah. We went to his memorial, and he's going to have we're going to do another thing on the bridge. We put the bridge sign up. Commander Bauer, and we have officers come and salute.
That's great. Yeah, he was a hell of a man.
Yeah.
Good
guy. He was our commanding officer in the mounted unit for many years.
Oh, he was. Oh,
yeah,
my goodness.
He was a Mountie.
Oh my!
So he spent the majority of his career in a mounted unit. So,
yeah. Well, thank you, officer.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Nice meeting you.
Thank you for your service. I got to do a left-handed handshake. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So there you have it. Knew Commander Bauer quite well, the murdered police officer, and I did not know Commander Bauer did the mounted unit. Who knew?
The horses are named after fallen police officers.
The horse is named after a fallen police officer.
All their horses are named after fallen.
So that one's named after Kelly.
Yeah, and Officer Kelly killed in 1970.
Killed in 1970, okay. So we probably need to chunk in a little bit and give some money for Commander Bauer's horse. They're going to probably have a horse named Bauer here pretty quick. All of a sudden, poof, hit me all of a sudden. So if I cry, that's just the way it is. So, what's the next thing, task force?
You want to cry on camera? It's very
Shush.
hard. It's very hard. Yes, officers die in line of duty. We were talking about how do you say the name? Q
add hour. Q add hour.
So we were to him for reasons I don't know. I mean, he's got a Syrian email address. So he's just back and forth between Arlington, Overland Park, Fairfax. There's a lot of information on him.
Okay, let me get to the girl because she's interesting. EST. I'm okay, everybody. EST. I called her EST like Est. They used to have a thing called Est, where you'd all get together in a hotel room and you would all pee in a circle, and then you'd be told how horrible you were. And you would sip little demi-tasses of coffee, and then they would rebuild you over the weekend. It's typical CIA MK Ultra before MK Ultra really got going with really good drugs. But no, this Est is not that. This Est person is not that. It's Est Ronnie. I think it's or Wani, like a Wan. Est Wani, EST Wani. And now these are the girls also that are associated with the Al Hijra Mosque and this group, right? These are associated individuals.
That's what you told me.
Well, I believe there's something called the Coordinated Councils of Islam here in near the care center. I think the care center is shockingly close to the ballet company.
Right.
So you immediately think of Rom.
She's a ballerina. So
yeah, as a ballerina.
You should be proud of that.
You should be proud.
It's hard to be
I think the care center's over on State Street. I'm not sure. But we are seeing over and over again some of these major mosques being used. We knew it before, kind of people coming and going with safe passage, but we didn't know that it was just like this airport for all these Egyptian trained pilots. But I believe they were trained in the Egyptian Air Force, because I guess Syria wouldn't train them. Assad's not going to train people to bomb his own country. And then Libya, Gaddafi was trying to make Africa one nation, one money supply, so they're not going to train there, I guess. So I guess you're left with... Anyway, 1500, Q add-on, 1500 is the Tunisian embassy. And it's like right on Embassy Row, so not far from SEIU, DuPont Circle. So, and of course, the Cato Institute, the Brookings Institute, all your institutes. Go ahead, sorry.
Did you want to talk about Bassam Eswani or
Estwani. Let's talk about Estwani. Now, she's going to be our druggist. I can just tell she's going to be our druggist.
I'm not sure. I know that she's very close. They have a lot of property in Indiana, which is where the.
Okay, so sorry about that. Bernie Bridges called us. Bernie Bridges, hold on. Just watch the live stream a little bit longer because we're on a roll. Okay. So Estwani and the Islamic Center of North America. And what do we know about the Islamic Center of North America? It's mirror on the wall. Mr. Mir, who was the head of that, ends up becoming very important in another operation. I can't remember what now. There's so many operations going. But this one's the Rockland, right? This is the Rockland, Maryland. Rockland Pharmaceuticals, or what was the name of the pharmaceuticals?
There's too much going in my brain right now. So I just know that Eswani goes back and forth also from Virginia to Indiana.
But what's the pharmaceutical company that she works for? Rockland Pharmaceuticals? No, I didn't send that to you. Well, anyway, they make the pharmaceuticals that wipes your eyes after you get a chlorine gas attack. You saw me get a chlorine gas attack earlier. I had no emotion whatsoever when I learned about Officer Bauer running the Mounties, none whatsoever. So this is the antidote that she worked for, the company that has the antidote for a chlorine gas attack, which I thought was interesting. Or maybe she doesn't work for that, but she's closely connected with someone, maybe like a Smith or something like that. Who knows? Yeah. So there you have it. What's the next one?
Well, I'm still working.
Sorry, I don't mean to mumble. I don't mean to mumble.
Yeah, I'm still running some of the next ones, so we'll get.
Okay, we'll all get back to you a little bit later on. There's a lot of grist for the mill. This is the key. This is the Q. Q has made it the antidote. Yeah, the antidote. Yeah, it's an antidote of some type. I put it out on my Twitter. I think it's called Rockland Pharmaceuticals. Yeah, thanks for the Chappaqua residence thing came out literally December the 2nd. Shows you how long you have to wait. We're still waiting for the Lisa Barsoomian story to break. There's a whole bunch of them we're still waiting for to break. This hasn't really broken yet, even though once it goes out to Q, it's pretty much over. I mean, that's...
Well, I'm sure Q has it, but yeah.
And I am saying there's 3 Qs, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Q1 was a real Q that did have some intelligence background, was putting out some good stuff. I then saw the Sessions, Trust Sessions. I said, this is a fake Q. I'm not saying that's Doug Gabriel. I'm not saying it's Doug Gabriel. I'm not saying it's Doug Gabriel. But there was a nasty part of the NSA that did want to stop the original Q. And I call it the NSA, the nasty NSA or the naughty NSA, the ones that want to run drugs in one direction and weapons in the other. And it just so happens it turns out to be NNSA. The actual agency is called the NNSA. And they actually did break off into their own building. So they're making it really easy for you. So Q2 was NNSA. Q3, they broke the code and actually went to device-based authentication, 5 different phones. Now we have a real Q again, obviously. So that's the big surprise.
That, and I think also that the CIA does not want Q speaking as
The
well.
CIA does not want Q speaking, and I do believe, as far as people say DIA has a rift in it. There is definitely a co-opted you could co-opt everybody like BLM, like Interior, like we talked about earlier, 25 different people. You could co-opt all these IRS and all these other agencies, the Treasury and stuff, and put in your paramilitary force. When you get into the DIA, you're getting into people who know what intelligence is all about.
They also are in the chain of command. That's something that's very important for people to understand.
They're in the chain of command.
The CIA is not under a chain of command military structure. The DIA is
in a chain of command.
Very crucial.
And that's a big point. That's a big point. Chain of command is a big deal. And I'm just saying, you can use your imagination of who would understand that the DIA was being co-opted. Again, I sat with a woman, SES, told me straight to my face, you're never going to stop us. We got 5 eyes. We got data everywhere. You're never going to stop us. We're unstoppable. We've infiltrated the DIA. Now, there are other people in the DIA trying to clean it up. Now, I don't work for the DIA, never have, never accepted any money from them. Did I sound serious? Did I say I look sincere?
Sincere, yeah.
When I said that? Okay. So, anyway, just a joke. But we trust Q3. I'll just say that. Trust Q3.
Yeah,
Who was Q1?
No, I trust yeah.
Trust Q3. Q2? Forget about it. Let's go say goodbye to, what's his name?
The horse
Kelly. Let's go say goodbye to Kelly, and we'll go see Bernie Bridges. And I'll take any last questions here in Chicago before we got another surprise for you today. Pay no attention to these agents that I've co-opted for various reconnaissance. I may as well show you the Wrigley building. This is I believe that Imran worked here, or still works here. The reason is at the guard tower. I'll just show the back of task force over there at the horse. At these guard towers, or up here, you could see everything coming and going. And if you're in logistics, you just need to count it and say it's here or it ain't here. Okay, that's the deal. Okay, down at Merchandise Mart, those are the people that are actually moving it in and out, right? You're just counting. And right 4 blocks that way, here's the surprise that's coming. I'll give you a little hint. 4 blocks that way was Navy Pier, but they had to move it up. They moved the training center up. All the people in World War II used to train just down here because it was centralized in the United States for distribution for training. So all the Navy does their boot camp. Now it's at Great Lakes. Look up Great Lakes Naval Air Station or Great Lakes Training Base or Great Lakes whatever. Some of the sailors sometimes call it Great Mistakes and of course you're always going to have your Rothschild type operations near armies. You always move with the Army. Move the medical wagons, move the drug wagons along with the armies, move the girls along with the armies. Always follow the armies and the navies. So, Great Lakes is our next stop. Great Shakes, Great Lakes.